Mark Hempel, and I'm here with Lenny Eisenberg for PorDaily.com. If you've been following the video series we're doing, this would be number 2. Today our topic is going to be top-heavy administration in LAUSD. Lenny will address this for us, and I'd like to start off by asking Lenny to define the LAUSD administrative culture.
Well, the LAUSD administrative culture is a culture where you advance in this culture based on blind obedience. You don't question anything that's done. You accept whatever is done by administrators above you, and if you do so, you are accepted and move on in this culture. The problem with this is that it's completely and utterly anti-intellectual, and because it doesn't question anything, if mistakes are made and are not questioned, you have inefficiency built into this system because no one is willing to say that the emperor has no clothes. In order to become an administrator, it's rather illustrative how you do this. You have to have a year out of the classroom as a magnet coordinator or as a coach, and what they're doing in that year is they're taking a look at you. They say they're doing this because they want to see if you make a good administrator, but they want to see, will you blindly follow orders without exception? Then you're given a written exam that you were told that you either pass or fail, but you're not told how you do. And finally, you are interviewed by 2 old-line administrators. And if those 2 administrators get even the slightest suspicion that you might be trouble, you're out. What has taken place more specifically in the recent past, starting around 2002, is even with bad administration, you had administrators usually would back teachers. But now what you're getting is that administrators attack teachers, and it seems that their marching orders from the district in a time of huge budget deficits is to eliminate as many teachers as they can, especially those at the top of the salary scale, about to invest in lifetime health benefits, or anybody who questions.
Lenny, what would happen to an administrator if he tried to approach this more equitably, if he tried to be fair to a teacher, if he tried to examine that teacher's worth to that particular campus?
Well, you have to understand that administrators, unlike teachers, have no tenure and can be removed from being administrators without cause and busted back to the classroom. When I was at Mark Twain Middle School, there was an administrator there named Kathy Ganella who had gone against what she was supposed to do as an administrator, and she was sent into the gulag of LAUSD by being sent to Mark Twain Middle School, a school that was in its 4th team of a red team audit. And she had to kind of do penance in order to get back in on the good graces of the district. The administrators are basically put in a position to do the bidding of, first of all, you have to understand what LAUSD is. The least important thing in LAUSD is public education. The most important thing are the vendors that are selling products to the district and the huge amounts of money that are being spent on building campuses of questionable need in a time of diminishing enrollment.
Okay, now could you give us an example of that?
Yeah, well, the RFK Learning Center, this was something I knew quite a bit about because I had made a proposal to use the RFK Learning Center, a building of the 1920s, a place where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was assassinated, and a historical part of American culture, and most importantly, on neutral turf, a place where the different ethnicities could come. And I proposed having an international school where kids could learn their native cultures and languages for 2.5 days a week, and for the other 4 days a week be immersed in good education. This was never seriously taken into consideration, and instead the district spent approximately $700 a square foot to build a Taj Mahal with talking benches. It must be noted that the average cost of building a building of that type would be around $300 a square foot. So you can see that it's considerably more. In other, another illustration of this problem of administration and administrators that don't question is the famous Belmont scandal that was originally budgeted at approximately $350 million, making it one of the most expensive high schools in the history of the United States. It ultimately ballooned to over $1 billion. How does a project like this go on? Administration at LAUSD never questions the fact that the law firm of O'Melveny and Myers, one of the oldest firms in California, represents both the developer of the Belmont site and the district. This is an inherent conflict of interest. To avoid a $350 million damages against O'Melveny and Myers, our ex-mayor Reardon goes and gets this toxic waste site, this irremediable toxic waste site, where some of the people who have examined it said the only way you could build a high school on this site is if you built the buildings 16 feet off the ground, which is ludicrous. Not only did no one, in terms of administration, in this administration where nobody questions anything, they not only didn't question it, they accepted this site as is. There's no question O'Melveny and Myers had a duty, that they breached their duty, which was the cause in fact and the proximate cause of the damages caused to the district. However, ex-mayor Reardon was able to get predominantly Latino children to occupy this irremediable waste site. Does administration at LAUSD, in the way they should function, on behalf and as advocates with a fiduciary duty to the students and the teachers, question this? Absolutely not.
Then, if this is the case, then who do these acts serve? Who do these decisions, who profits by these decisions?
Well, you know, I taught at Central High School, a school where there was not one kid, this was a continuation school, and there was one kid in the school that was at basic, and yet I walked into the office one time and I saw over $100,000 worth of geometry books. And I wondered, logically, who would use these geometry books where most of the students in the school don't know their times tables? And so the answer is, it serves vendors, it serves people who are building sites for $350 million, $1 billion, talking benches. A lot of people are getting rich on this. The problem is that the educational system of Los Angeles Unified is worse than it was 44 years ago, when students walked out of 5 East Los Angeles schools. And you look at a school like Roosevelt High School, where maybe 10% of the kids getting out of that school have fulfilled A through G requirements, or you look at LACC, where 60% of the students going to that school are at remedial levels because they haven't gotten a basic education coming out of LAUSD, and no one is holding them accountable. This is something where you have to attribute this to the average skill level of an administrator. So you might ask, why is it that administrators don't have a skill level? Well, the problem is that administrators do not have training as administrators. They might have taken some cursory course to be an administrator, but what they really are failed teachers. We know that at LAUSD, over 50% of teachers quit teaching within 5 years because the behavioral issues in a system that is run by average daily attendance, where there is no concern of maintaining an environment in these classrooms where a teacher can actually teach. So teachers get out. They get out as quickly as they can. And even those that would like to stay in education, they look at the system and they say, what is upward mobility? And regrettably, upward mobility is out of the classroom into administration. And as I said, not into an administration where you are rewarding people who think, you're rewarding people who just follow orders.
May I ask you one more question?
Sure.
According to what you're telling me, a teacher has a lifespan with LAUSD of 5 years approximately. From what I've read, for the past several years, enrollment has been dropping in LAUSD, as it has been in all school districts. But yet you're telling me of these enormous expenditures for these 2 school sites.
Mm-hmm.
Are we short of schools? We don't have enough schools to service the number of students that we have? Do we need to build these new structures?
Well, there's an interesting contradiction. When you looked at the time when they were projecting these new schools, there was a projected growth in student populations. The problem is that people might be ignorant, but they're not stupid. And any way they can to get their children out of LAUSD, they will. The Los Angeles Unified School District is losing tremendous amounts of money simply because kids are not showing up to school. They're not going to school. So you built these schools predicated on a certain enrollment, and then any day of the week, you have 100,000 students that don't show up to school. And in a system that is driven by average daily attendance, this is a huge drain on the Los Angeles Unified School District's budget. It is my contention that students seek consequences. And when they are put in a situation where there are no consequences for their behavior, and this is my children or children within this school system, they keep pushing for limits, and they get no limits. It has gotten so bad now in the post-Miramonte situation that students are now threatening teachers and say to these teachers, if you push me to stop listening to my iPod, if you push me to stop to doing work in class, I'm going to report you for having touched me inappropriately. I'm going to report you for having used bad language. We have a situation where parents in inner city schools must accept the fact that they have been using these schools as daycare. And you might ask yourself, why? Well, if people come from cultures where they themselves do not have good education, they have no way of knowing what the purpose of education is. When you take a young person and you put them in a school, people are not born with the knowledge that education is an irreplaceable asset to a society so that its citizenry have an ability to do something. These kids will hit a wall and are hitting a wall when they get out of school and they don't have enough of an education to fill out a job application. Their parents, like my great-grandparents, came to this country for a better life. And because of the failure of administration at LAUSD to hold the line and hold people to a high standard, students aren't getting educated, teachers are not able to teach, and the system that spends billions of dollars and has a budget bigger than the budget of the city of Los Angeles is not doing its job. No business can afford to lose 50% of its employees in a 5-year period. The amounts of money that are being wasted are outrageous. This system needs to be held responsible.
One final quick question regarding the budget, since you brought it up. You're telling us that we're losing teachers. You're telling us that we're losing students. Do we have enough administrators? Are we losing administrators too?
Administrators have been increased by 27%. This doesn't seem to make any sense. And not only have we increased the number of administrators, but you compare what administrators at LAUSD do to what administrators do outside of LAUSD. When you go to a private school on the west side of Los Angeles, those administrators are spending their time making sure that their students are getting into good colleges and universities and good programs. LAUSD teachers and administrators are spending their time non-productively dealing with avoidable consequences for bad behavior. We have the laws in this state that can create accountability. We choose not to enforce them.
Well, thank you, Lenny, and thank you for listening and watching this video. If you would like to comment, please contact us at perdaily.com, or you may contact Lenny at perdaily.com. Thank you again.